I love you. Hello! I can't do it as well as you can. Thank you, Couch Potatoes, for coming back today. We have another lovely potato pick for you here today to start off your Thursday of the month. And I am the Green Traveler from Gorsh.
Hello! I am the Faceless Leon. And this is a podcast about movies and TV called Green Faceless on the Couch. And we're talking about Robin Williams today. It is also the potato pick. We want to thank Del McCallahan, as always, for suggesting this pick where we feature some performances by the great Robin Williams.
Yes.
I've already hinted at we're going to talk about Mrs. Doubtfire and Good Will Hunting.
And as you mentioned before, Good Will Hunting, not really the star of the show, Robin Williams.
Really.
That is more, he is more of a supporting role.
Fantastic supporting role.
Yeah, in regards to his performance, though, it is one of his, in my opinion, it's one of his best.
True.
Man has a lucrative filmography, and whenever I look at it, Good Will Hunting's always one that immediately just sticks out to definitely. Me. I loved that movie as a kid.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but he won the supporting actor award for that, didn't he?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, the movie itself, as my DVD loudly proclaims on the cover, nominated for 9 Academy Awards, winner of Best Original Screenplay and Best Supporting Act.
Flung the already blossoming careers of Ben Affleck and Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Catapulted them.
I mean, specifically in regards to behind the camera.
Oh, definitely.
Because, they wrote the script and it was just, they both acted in it also and they became great actors, but it's that script that I remember.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. But first, we're going to talk about Mrs. Doubtfire because it came out
Indeed we are.
4 years earlier. And that's how we
do
things.
The year I was born, the year my alien spaceship crashed onto this earth.
So it wasn't the year you were born then.
I mean, the year my human form was born.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know. Our timography is muddled. I don't remember it. Timeline, whatever.
I'm gonna go through and just lift all the bits about our time period and compile them together, and then we'll put it on the Patreon page. So if you want to check that out wiki after I do it next year, you can go to patreon.com/greenfaceless.
I mean, even while you're waiting for it to come up in that year, you can still go down to patreon.com/greenfaceless and look at our tiers and everything.
This episode, the Potato Pick, is suggested by our patrons. So if you want to help shape this show, I mean, we'll probably do other actor focuses now that this is a segment of our show. This is the second time that one of our patrons has come up with a new segment. I think last month, was it last month or the month before, we did an old versus new, which I think can be a very fun segment.
Yeah.
Especially
it was a couple months ago, I think. I can't remember when, though. I think it was January's.
It was January? Okay.
I think so.
I don't know. Time has been weird, man. This winter.
The whole last 2 years is just one day.
Yeah, right? I think part of it is this show, to be perfectly honest. Because we're
turning our brains off for longer than we normally do.
Yes, but also I think it's just like the regiment of getting the show out. We get 2 of these out a week, and it takes more than just the one day that, that it goes out. It takes all week to produce both of the episodes.
Yeah.
So
I've become such a workaholic that I've literally turned everything in my life into work. So it's like I go to my actual job that pays me money. I come home and do this job, which, pays some money. Not much, but it pays some. Yeah. You guys are lovely out there, and we appreciate you for helping us out.
Thank you so much for the support.
And then when I play video games, I'm currently playing 2 on the regular that both involve me having a job.
Animal Crossing being one.
Yeah, I wasn't including that in the other two, but when I remember it, yeah, Animal Crossing is definitely its own job in and of itself.
What are the other two?
Yeah, I'm such a workaholic that I literally have turned every single aspect of my life into working.
What are the other two games that you're playing?
Phasmophobia, where you are a ghost hunter trying to discover what ghost is in a house, what kind of ghost is haunting a house, that is. And then I've been playing the last few days recently because I have a nice working computer again. I can play video games. I've been playing Papers, Please.
Papers, Please.
Yeah, you're a border crossing agent in a fictional world, but there's a lot of shit going on, and you're not allowed to let certain people into the country.
Oh,
so it's like,
oh shit, those kind of papers. Okay.
Yeah. They show you their passport and other identifying information if it's needed. And you have to research everything on there and be like, no, this passport says that you're 6'2", but you can't even peek up over my countertop. You're clearly not 6'2". Discrepancy. Get the fuck out of here. You're not coming to my country. That kind of stuff. It's very minute details, but it's just another job.
6.2 decameters? I don't think so.
6'2".
Yeah, I heard what you said.
Oh, gotcha. Sorry.
That's okay.
I didn't know if it had come across.
So,
but yeah,
this is Doubtfire. Which one do you want to synopsize?
I feel like personally you would relate more to Mrs. Doubtfire in regards to the family situation.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say that this is the better performance, but it is definitely the performance that Robin Williams gets to be what makes him Robin Williams.
Right. I will hold off I agree with you wholeheartedly. I will hold off on how I feel that it applies to the movie, though. Okay.
So, Daniel Hillard is an actor, particularly good at voice work. And he has trouble holding down a job, though, because he has ridiculously high principles on certain things. Yeah. I would say, but okay, it's not that I don't agree with what he was saying. He was working on a cartoon where they shove a cigarette into his character's mouth. Then the character's like, oh, yeah. And he's got kids, and he's like, I don't like that. So this...
Yeah, he refuses to do it.
And this movie is about the kids. So he has 3 kids, Lydia being the oldest. Lydia is played by Lisa Jacob, maybe it's just Jacob, no idea. But it's spelled with a K and a U. Chris is played by Matthew Lawrence, and Natalie, the very youngest, she's 5 or something, is played by Mara Wilson, and very adorable. And all the parts she played in the 90s, she was freaking adorable. Matilda.
Yeah. And in the oh yeah, that's right, she was Matilda. I forgot about that. But it's also directed by Chris Columbus, who would later on go to do the first 2 Harry Potter movies. We know he's good with children actors, and he does a good job with children actors here. He is one of the greater directors at getting great performances for kids.
Yes, definitely. Especially Home Alone. Great out the gate. Anyhow, he gets fired, like I said. No, he quits, and he comes home early due to that. And it is Chris's birthday, but because he had a bad report card, he's not supposed to have a party. And they throw basically a kid rager.
I think it should specify that it's his mom who is very adamant that he is not allowed to have a party.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Being Miranda Hillard, played by Sally Field. And I always thought it was Sally Fields, but it's Field.
But you love her, right? You really love her.
In this particular movie, I do actually love her. But she's also very much... She's forced to play the bad guy because of Daniel. Because Daniel just wants to have fun all the time, and he thinks the kid's life should be fun all the time. And that's great and all, but somebody has to be responsible for them. And thus, the problems that they have in their marriage, this is the story of their marriage falling apart. Rather, it's more the story of the custody battle for the kids.
Yeah.
So he has to get a job and hold down an apartment and make it an appropriate place to live for the kids before he can have dual custody with them. At this point, he is only allowed to see them on Saturdays, but he's desperate about his kids.
A little obsessed.
Yes, but at the same time, when Miranda says that she's looking for a housekeeper / babysitter for the kids because she's working all the time, Daniel's like, why can't I just watch the kids? She won't let him. And he decides...
Which makes sense.
A little bit, but I think that...
He has proven himself irresponsible.
He is irresponsible.
When you look at the apartment he lives in, it is, at least at the beginning, it is incredibly bad condition.
Yes.
He can't
that
cook.
First scene, it's just everything in boxes. Later, it's old lady clothes everywhere. Yeah. So, anyhow, he hears that she needs a...
I'm just saying...
Go ahead. I'm
just saying at the forefront of the movie when she's just like, you shouldn't be handling, having custody of these kids for a long period of time, or at least like watching over them while I'm at work. I'm in agreement with the mom here. He's an irresponsible slob.
Yeah,
it was just like
a little bit.
He's not offering a healthy environment for them to be raised in, especially not one that's gonna I don't know. But I'm in agreement with her, even though she is presented as the villain. I'm wholeheartedly like, yeah, I get you, girl.
Right. So, I don't know. I mean, obviously, so I am a child of divorce as well. And my dad was obviously much more responsible than Daniel. But I just couldn't imagine how he would feel if my mom didn't let us see him.
That is the sad part. Yeah. Is I do feel for his character, but at the same time, he does get to see them on weekends, at least at the beginning.
It's just one day. It's just Saturday.
Yeah, but it's the caretaking thing where it's just like, you're gonna be at work, come babysit the kids while I'm here. Like, one, you're going through a divorce. It's already a weird situation.
I understand
it's very awkward and hard for the couple. Yeah, so I was in agreement with her when he was just like, let me take care of the kids. I'm like, I don't know, man. I can imagine the little girl running out and getting lost or getting kidnapped or something happens.
I think he's better than that. But anyhow, Daniel decides that he could fill that role as the housekeeper, and he is a pretty talented actor. So he goes to his brother, Frank, played by Harvey Fierstein.
Yes.
What?
Oh, love him.
It's Jack, right? I believe Scott Capero plays his partner. And they do this great scene where they making him up like a woman.
Right.
Full of bits where they sing numbers, and it's just hilarious. Like they do Fiddler on the Roof and a Barbra Streisand song. It's pretty good stuff. For a montage, it's great.
That's my problem. That's where my whole issue with this film is it's 2 hours and I think 15 minutes long. And in my opinion, it should be an hour and a half, and you can cut out all the montages and it would still be just as strong of a movie. Save
just this one. I don't know. It could be construed as insensitive to transgender people though too. So
right.
Who knows?
That's the weird part about this film is I mean, it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
And I don't think, forgive me if cross-dressing is not an appropriate term, but I don't think individuals who are cross-dressing or cross-dressers or transgender individuals will take offense to this movie, because everything about it is done in, it's all lighthearted and joyful, and there's a story and a lot of messages here about separation and divorce and how and the effects on a family. But the main character, the one who is cross-dressing as Mrs. Doubtfire, that character, what was his name? Daniel, yeah. Daniel himself is neither a cross-dresser nor transgender.
No.
So it's a really weird area where it's like they're employing aspects of this community, but they are not part of that community at all.
It is very similar to Tootsie in that way, Secret Review of Tootsie, but I think this does it a little bit better because
I've never seen Tootsie.
Tootsie, he does it just to get a role because he can't get a role as an actor.
Right.
And that's a very incredibly selfish reason to impersonate a woman, especially if it's not a life choice that you want to make. Here, he just wants to see his kids.
And it helps him get a role.
And it does help him get a role later on. It does. That is the end of the movie. However, there are some jokes in that first montage that I think that's I was talking about, particularly that scene. There's some jokes. I don't think the concept will be by most people misconstrued as insulting because
it's very tastefully done.
Yeah,
too.
I think so too. Yeah, but there's some dated jokes in that scene. Is all I meant to say.
Right, and his brother again played amazingly and beautifully by the awesome Harvey Fierstein.
Yes,
I love him. Yeah, his voice very recognizable because it's so heavily like. I don't know if I can do his voice. I was trying to.
I don't know if anybody really can besides him.
Baby.
That's pretty good though.
Very gravelly smoker's voice. But he is a makeup artist and a very good one. He makes the brother, the character is not Harvey Fierstein himself.
Right.
But the character is very good at making masks. The form-fitting rubber masks that you would put on a face. And the lips would move and everything. It looks like it's very realistic.
Yeah.
And, that's why it's very tastefully done is like when you get the final character of Mrs. Doubtfire, she is her own thing. Mm-hmm. She is a person in and of herself. And of course you can see Robin Williams under it if you're looking for the details. But he pulls off the acting and the character so fucking well that it really does just completely feel like somebody new. A whole new character.
Euphigenia Doubtfire, dear.
Yes, it's a good voice. And I don't mind the montage scenes. I can get through them and they are funny. They do have funny moments, but that was like my biggest problem with the whole movie. Because Robin is an improv actor. And so with those, you typically do like 10 takes. He gives you a different energy and a different character with each take. And then the editor chooses one that best fits the film. Here, the editor chose every single one of those takes and put them in. So to where he is spinning around the chair with the makeup on his face, Robin Williams that is, saying not a different line, or not the exact same line, but it's a different line each time. It's always a different impression that he's putting on. But it's literally the exact same shot and scene over and over and over again. And after the third or fourth one, I'm like, okay, editor, we've had it. Let's cut and go to the next scene. No, we're going to keep going. We got more songs to do. I can't stand it.
Well, I just have to wholeheartedly disagree because I think what it does is just, it's a good showcasing of Robin Williams' comedy. Like, he's just so fast. Like, he just come up with shit off the spot, and nobody can produce jokes like he can at that speed.
I agree wholeheartedly. We'll get to it with Good Will Hunting. I think his improving in that film is phenomenally better because of how it was brought into the movie. Because in Mrs. Doubtfire, the over repetition for people like me who have so many mental issues that bothers me when I'm watching. I'm just like, oh my god, this is 2 hours already. Come on, please. Like, I got stuff else I got to do tonight. I got to watch this movie. And I'm still laughing and enjoying it, but it's just that repetition that bothers me. Whereas in Good Will Hunting, all of his improv skills are delivered through some very fucking amazing speeches that feel like they're written in the script. But when you look in behind the scenes, a lot of it was improv on the spot, and he's just going with a story. And it's just, I don't know. How it's brought into the film, I think, is much, much better done in Good Will Hunting.
Sure.
Because, I don't know.
I just think it was great to see. There's just so much of his personality in this particular film. Yeah. Like, so for me, I mean, he's a hero of mine. I'll say that straight up. Mm-hmm. And I feel like for a lot of people feel that way. But as an actor myself, I look up to him a lot. And
right.
this is one of the roles that, I just watched over and over as a child, because it's just so funny. And
yeah, we watched it a lot too.
Yeah. And there's other roles that he has where they let him just go off, like pretty much every role. But but like where it's the comedy side of it, and they're more adult. So, this is the version that I got to watch over and over again. This and Aladdin is what made me fall in love with him.
Yeah. And I don't want to sound like I'm attacking the character, because I think everything he's putting forth is beautiful. And like I said many times, during those montage scenes, I am laughing and I am enjoying them. I'm just saying that the editor, in my opinion, should have taken the best 1 or 2 takes and not the best 4 or 5 takes. Because it's just like, whenever he does his movies, when you see the improv moments, you're like, yep, that was an improv moment. I want to know what the other 10 were that he did. And you can find them in the behind the scenes or whatever, the deleted scenes. Like, they always have them. Whereas in this one, it just chose to do every single take that he did. And I'm just like, no, come on. There's some good ones, and then there's some ones that I'm just like, okay, come on now. I don't like montages. They bother me.
That sent me on a memory lane of a shoot that I did once, but I didn't want to get into the story, so... we should probably move on, not to closing statements maybe, because I feel like we haven't really moved past this montage, and we haven't even talked about Stu. So Miranda, she has a business proposal from an old fling named Stu, played by Pierce Brosnan. Now, Pierce, as we all know, is very charming. Yes. I think he's more attractive now than he was then, but it was the 90s. How am I supposed to gauge that?
Yeah, it's a salt and pepper beard.
Yeah, it is.
It really gets us.
It's spicy. So this, however, this movie, him coming out of the pool, having his hair slicked back, it was very informative of my swimming.
Mm-hmm. Very yummy.
Well, I didn't necessarily, not necessarily that. I just, every time I got out of the pool, I made sure my hair was slicked back like that. Yeah.
I never had long hair until just now.
Yeah, I had it like at varying degrees of length, but it is definitely the longest it's ever been now. The pandemic has really lent to me experimenting with that. Anyhow, Stu really likes Miranda and finagles his way into a relationship with her. And I say it like he's a villain. He's only a villain in Daniel's eyes.
Right.
He's this business guy. He's not probably not the most natural father figure, but he does fall in love with the kids. Yeah. And Daniel is super jealous. The kids aren't too sure about him either. I think Natalie likes him okay.
Yeah, and the movie doesn't do a good job either of making his and Miranda's relationship like connect, because it's just kind of like she's kind of just fawning over him and he's just kind of there,
right? And
then they're just dating, and it's just like,
well,
I don't know.
I think it's all in that first office meeting, but it's an easy scene to forget. That he comes in to look at her designs and stuff, but he's really there to try to rekindle this thing they used to have. But he had no idea that she was married at all. But after he came
now
forward,
she's 2 weeks divorced.
Now she's 2 weeks divorced. Yeah, he had no idea about that either. So he doesn't know that it's ill-timed. But apparently he's persuasive and charming enough that he worked his way into a relationship with her after a matter of months.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, apparently he's persuasive and charming enough. We don't see that.
Yeah, we don't see that.
It's not really presented at all. That's what I'm saying. The movie doesn't connect it.
Yeah, there's a lot of time that they don't show, because Mrs. Doubtfire really gets involved in their lives, especially like even Miranda's. Miranda's like, I don't know what I would do without her, because Daniel comes to her a couple of times after he becomes more responsible, and it's kind of interesting to watch how Mrs. Doubtfire helps Daniel too.
Right.
There's a particular scene where it's not very helpful. That's a pretty funny scene, but the security,
the inspector,
not security, the child. What do you call him? Social worker. There's where he plays both Mrs. Doubtfire and Daniel at the same time. And it gets very complex. It's a good romp scene. It's hilarious.
Yeah, and it's really fun, and I that's one of my favorite scenes, and that's where I actually love the movie more, is in watching Mrs. Doubtfire touch everybody.
Yeah.
So it's just like including him, because as I was saying at the beginning, Daniel is a slob.
Yeah,
like he in my opinion, he is not a good. I am in agreement with the mom at the very beginning of not wanting him to be the caretaker while she's at work.
Sure.
I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. He has proven many times over before the film and at the very beginning of the film with the party scene that he doesn't listen to her and doesn't take care of the kids. Yeah, after Mrs. Doubtfire comes into their lives, that's all changed. He's learned responsibility, and as Mrs. Doubtfire, he's enforcing her rules onto the kids in a good way, in a peaceful way. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but that's like I enjoy watching him develop through her. That's the most fascinating part of this film.
I do too, and the kids too. I think that's kind of more in the background too. Like it is very focused on Robin's performance as these two characters.
Yeah,
and maybe that is a detriment to the film. I'm not sure. I'm not so sure because, like you said, the relationship with Stu and Miranda, there's just a lot of time that's not in the movie.
Yeah.
And, a lot of movies do that. Anyhow, the two older kids do find out eventually, which actually makes the job of keeping it secret from Miranda easier because they're in on the game. However, like I was saying, Daniel eventually comes forward because he's got his life together now, and he's like, well, can I start taking care of them? And she's like, no, I need Mrs. Doubtfire. So he planted himself too deep. He became his own enemy.
Yeah.
And it all culminates in the restaurant scene where he is at the same time trying to be Mrs. Doubtfire for Miranda's birthday and have a production meeting with Mr. Lundy, the head of his studio, played by Robert Prosky. And he gets super drunk with Mr. Lundy, drunk off scotch. And he keeps on running to the bathroom. It's another great romp scene. He tries to poison Stu and then accidentally sits at the table as Mrs. Doubtfire. And I think we'll leave what happens in this explosive scene to the viewer. It's a classic film.
Right.
If you haven't seen it, I think you should see it. But like you said, there are some things. It's not a perfect movie.
And I mean, like, that whole ending scene, too. Like, as a kid, I didn't realize he was getting drunk. And so when he makes that decision to poison Pierce Brosnan, I was just like, what the fuck? Like, dude just said he was allergic to that. It bothered the crap out of me as a kid. Like, I was like, cause it was the first time I saw him as a villain. Because I didn't understand he was just drunk and acting irresponsible like his old self. So it's like, as an adult, it all makes sense, and I like that ending a lot. But as a kid, it kind of just bothered me that he did that. It didn't stop me from rewatching the movie 1,000 times. But I was just like, what the fuck did he just do to Pierce?
He killed James Bond.
What the fuck, Bond? Don't say that. What's wrong with you? Smack.
So closing statements about this movie. I fucking love this movie. I'm going to give it a face and a half, even though I recognize that there are things that, aren't perfect about it. It really does just focus on Daniel, but everybody is improved by Mrs. Doubtfire. So I don't know. It's a warm, feel-good movie at the end, even though it's kind of bittersweet. So it's one of my favorites. So can't not give it a face and a half. Go ahead.
That's fair. I give it 3 stars. I still wildly enjoy it. I think it's very, very good. It's just the runtime is my only problem. Because when I looked back at this movie, I literally thought it was an hour and 20, hour and 30 minutes long. And then when I pulled it up on the streaming site or whatever I used to watch it.
I think it's on Disney Plus.
Yeah, okay, this is on Disney Plus. And I pulled it up and I was just like, oh fuck, this is 40 minutes longer than I thought it was, and I did not budget enough time for this.
Oh, shit.
And a lot of it was just because of the padded gags. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Robin Williams gags. I will definitely watch a shit ton of them. But for the movie itself, I feel like there was so much more that they could have and should have covered.
Yeah.
That they took too much time on this. And it's just, a lot of his work is already beautifully on point through the Doubtfire character herself. And then also at the end with Mr. Lundy, you know, there's a good moment where he's doing a bunch of gags with some toys, and that's what gets Mr. Lundy's attention, because he's just like, oh, this guy's funny, and I need a new comedy show. Yeah, and it's just like, those are where you can let his abilities shine, is those moments that make sense for the story. Gotcha. I'm talking out my ass here.
You think it would be stronger with a little less, where it's unnecessary. I understand.
Right.
If they don't understand, if they hate you for it, that's okay. I forgive you.
Thank you. I mean, I give it 3 stars, and if you love Robin Williams and you love just seeing those gags, it's very much on point here. So this is the perfect movie for you. And it's got a lot to say about divorce and separation. So, definitely. You know, that's a great movie for it. Great movie for those messages as well. So definitely go out and see it. But before we go into Good Will Hunting, should we get a soda pop?
Yeah, let's get a soda pop. I think we're back. In Boston, apparently the old people, they call soda pop tonic. Call it tonic.
Tonics?
Tonics? Yeah, tonic. Can I have a tonic?
Come on, give me a tonic. Gin and tonic? Or just a gin and soda?
IC cola.
Oh, sorry, Boston.
Sorry.
We're here today for the second half of this episode to talk Good Will Hunting. Made in 1997. One of my favorite films as a kid, just because it was one of my dad's favorite films, I think. It's directed by Gus Van Sant. He did the remake of Psycho and I believe also Milk, the story about the gay senator.
That's pretty
Harvey
good.
Milk.
Sean Penn.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's right. And it's Review Milk. Yeah, and Good Will Hunting, written, as we said before, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, who also star in it, alongside therapist Robin Williams, who plays, I believe the therapist's name is Sean.
Yes.
And then there's also Stellan Skarsgård, Sean's friend. So basically what happens is Matt Damon is a incredibly anger-filled individual, Will Hunting. But he's also a very intelligent individual. He possibly has photographic memory.
He can read like a motherfucker. I'm jealous. He
can read like a motherfucker. That's for damn sure. Yeah, he's very smart. He has math skills out the wazoo. So such good math skills that I think what was Stellan Skarsgård's character a Harvard professor? He's a professor of some sort.
He's a mathematics professor. That's for sure.
Right.
And he was some kind of star in the university. Yeah. Kind of like when we had Benson.
Yeah, he won like the Field Medal, I think is what it was called. He won something like that. Maybe I'm just remembering Sally Field.
Yes.
And Stellan Skarsgård's character puts up an impossible to solve problem on the board, tells the students, it's like, might take you 6 months, but if you can solve this problem, yada, 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 yada. Well, they come back the next day, and janitor Will Hunting, without anybody knowing, has already solved the problem. And Stellan Skarsgård's amazed. He asks his students, he's like, who did this? Nobody's coming forward to take credit. And he's just blown away. He's like, how did somebody solve this? This was supposed to be a while. Puts up another one, even more impossible to solve. Said it took him and his colleagues like so many months to so many years to solve the proof. And he's like, go ahead and do it. Comes back one day to find Will Hunting, the janitor, again, of the university, in the process of solving it. He mistakes it from the distance. The Stellan Skarsgård mistakes it as graffitiing, and he yells at Will, and Will walks away, and Stellan tries to chase him down, yelling at him not to graffiti his work or anything. Him and his assistant, who I don't remember who plays the assistant or what his assistant's name is. I'm so sorry. I think his name's Tom.
Played by John Minton.
Oh, poor Tom. But they come back and they look at what Will Hunting was doing, and Will was like, most assuredly about to solve the problem. Everything was correct that he had written down so far. So they go out and they find Will, and they discover a huge rap sheet. A very, very bad long list of misdemeanors and beatings, specifically violent.
Usually assault.
Yeah, usually assault. He hangs around with his like best friends, Ben Affleck being one of them, and the other two I can't remember their names. I'm so sorry.
Well, one of them is Casey Affleck, played by is Morgan, played by Casey Affleck, and I believe the other is Billy, played by Joel Hauser.
How did I not know it was Casey? Well, oh my god!
I mean, this is the role that I remember him in as being the classic Casey Affleck role. So yeah, I am kind of surprised.
I just know him for like the Manchester by the Sea days.
Yeah, I haven't watched that, so I don't know.
That's the Casey I know. That's
much later. I know him. I think the one that I know him the most for is the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford.
That's a good one.
I think I remember that movie so much because of the title. I'm like, what the hell? How'd they get away with this title?
It's too long. It's too long. No, it's amazing. But
secret review of. I'm not going to say the title
again. But yeah, here Matt Damon, Will Hunting, he's hanging out with all of these ne'er-do-wells. They're all, I don't know if they're all construction workers. The Stellan Skarsgård character sees them as ne'er-do-wells.
Yes.
They are not. They're revealed to be very emotionally bonded. Like they're tight-knit brothers, all of them, very close, familial. I guess is the word I'm looking for, just familial.
They're family. They are Will's family.
Yeah, and and he was himself, Will Hunting, is an orphan. So, this is the family he has chosen. He didn't have parents. He had foster parents who I think his stepfather, it's mentioned, beat him or would burn out cigarettes, but
it was several different foster homes that were abusive to him.
And it's just weird because there's moments where he'll say stuff like that, and like he says that out of anger to his love interest, played by Minnie Driver.
Skylar.
Yeah, he says that to Skylar, and he says it out of anger, so it seems like it's very true in that moment, but he does lie a lot about his past. And
but they with scenes that he's not in, they talk about it when they're looking through his files.
Okay, so I didn't remember that specific, but yeah. It's just there are moments where you do, when he says things specific, at least, that you have to kind of look into his meanings behind it, because he is a very deflective individual. He doesn't want to look in on himself. He doesn't want to think about who he is as a person. Everybody throughout the film, everybody is telling him that he is so smart, he needs to be doing more with his life.
Yeah.
Not only for himself, but for the rest of the world, even for his friends, and it's just a thing. It just constantly weighs on him. He just wants to be lazy. He just wants to be with his friends. He just wants to to go out to the bars. He doesn't want to be this big shot.
He wants to work to live. He doesn't want to live to work.
Exactly. And when Stellan Skarsgård finally approaches him, he's like, "Will, you have basically it comes down to you have two options: go to jail for a large portion of your life, or come under my tutelage as a math student in a way and see a therapist." And to avoid jail, even though Will Hunting thinks therapy is a joke, he decides, I'll do this just to avoid jail, and ends up going to like so many different therapists, eight or nine therapists, constantly getting turned down from them because he just kind of works it back on them.
Yes. Where he sings when he's under hypnosis, apparently he starts talking about what's going on, but really he's just talking the lyrics of Afternoon Delight. And that scene's pretty fucking hilarious.
That's a great scene. But eventually, Stellan Skarsgård's character, I cannot remember his name.
Oh, it is Professor Lambay.
Lambay? Lambo?
It's either Lambo.
Oh my gosh, that's
Lambo.
Jerry. It was Jerry.
Jerry
Lambo.
Yeah.
That's right.
Jerry Lambo.
And
yeah.
Yeah, Jerry finally gives up and goes back to his old friend from college who teaches therapy, talk therapy, Sean, played by Robin Williams. And he talks Sean into at least trying to help this kid. You know, he's like, just take a few sessions. You know, the kid has gone to so many therapists and has just not tried at all to connect with therapy. And he's like, I think you can reach this kid and you can help him become useful to me as a math student.
Right.
And, you know, Sean agrees. He's like, sure, I'll meet with the kid. And those meetings that happen are just some fascinating cinema. Because obviously it's just, it's scripted at times. There are certain things that are obviously monologues that Matt Damon and Ben Affleck wrote. But there are so many times when Robin Williams is just telling a personal story, like about his wife or about his own backstory or anything, or just like making anecdotes to connect with Will, that you can tell it's just Robin just being improvising a story, and it is funny and it is deep, and like there's so many times where I'm like moved to tears almost by what Robin is saying, because it's just like it's very connecting and I don't know. I've done therapy, and I've never had a therapist as good as Sean. And no offense to the therapists out there if they ever attend to listen to this, but like that's the kind of therapist I kind of want, is somebody like Sean who literally does go the extra mile to connect, to care about these people, because it's the development of Will Hunting's character throughout this that I find fascinating, because he goes from being this anger-filled individual to learning that love isn't something to fear, to learning that emotions isn't something to fear. I mean, I'm sure at the end he is still very masculine and stoic in regards to his emotions, but he's opened up a bit more. And he's more, I don't know, I enjoy that journey. Though it does have a few of those scenes where you're kind of like zooming in on Matt Damon's face, and like it doesn't have the equations floating in the background, but it's very much those kind of scenes.
But like they do, there's this mirror shot where he's writing with dry erase on the mirror so that you can see his thinking face and him writing at the same time. I thought that was pretty clever.
Right.
At the very least, I mean, I feel like that's a very iconic, very much copied thing in cinema now, but I feel like this is long enough ago that could have been fairly original. At the very least, it felt original for this movie.
Yeah, it's probably.
So,
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like I just kind of blazed through how much I enjoyed. To be honest, with the script, to be fair to this one, just like with Mrs. Doubtfire, the script is very predictable. Like, you kind of know all the beats once you get maybe 30 to 40 minutes into the movie. And again, this is another long one. This is like 2 hours, 20 minutes or something like that. And, you know, within the first act, or at least by the end of the first act, you can kind of figure out where Will Hunting's life is going to go from here and what's going to happen. And it's not the most original story. You know, boy with a lot of anger issues falls in love with woman, and she tries to soften him up or help him out to better himself. You know, it's kind of mundane romance, but it's the therapy side of it that is just phenomenal. You know, and it's another important message out there, because even today still I hear people who are, you know, if you mention that you're going to therapy or you mention therapy as an option, they're like, no, I'm not going to go see a therapist. I'm not going to talk to anybody like that, or that's just crazy. You know, I don't want to do it. No, therapy is a damn good thing for you.
Yes, and I think that's just fear, really.
Yeah, it really is.
Those people, they're afraid they're going to change their life so revolutionary that they're going to have nothing left.
Yeah, and it's a fear of opening up also, and like looking in on yourself, like looking in at what you hate about yourself.
I've been thinking about seeing somebody here recently, and I feel like this movie maybe gave me the final nudge to do it. And like, it's not like I feel like I can't get through life without it. I just feel like it could be very helpful.
Indeed, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've seen 3, I guess I'm comfortable saying that. I've seen 3 therapists, and it's a process. You know, you kind of, you know, you go through a couple sessions and you're like, this isn't the therapist for me. You know, you're not going to hit Sean out of the park. You're not going to get that one right off the bat. And like, again, that's another part of this film is he goes to 8 therapists until he finds one who is patient enough and willing enough to stand up to him and to let him in. And it's just, it's a game. You know, you got to find which therapy or which therapist is right for you, because there's so many different types of, I mean, it's not just talk therapy. There's so many other types of therapy out there that psychiatrists and therapists could put out there. And, you know, I don't know. I just love the movie, or I love the message of this movie for that reason, because I think mental health is very important. And yeah, that stigmata that seeing a therapist is a bad thing, that just needs to go the fuck away. And the monologues in this film too, so beautiful. I love the monologues, especially there's a silly one with Matt Damon where he goes for a job interview that's set up for him by Jerry. I mean, Jerry sets up quite a few job interviews. One of them, Matt Damon doesn't even attend. He just sends his associate, Ben Affleck, to go take it. I feel like it was only included because as Ben and Matt were writing it, Ben was just like, wait, my character doesn't get really a good comedic moment to shine. I need people to know I'm a good comedian. And so they wrote that scene for him. But there's another scene, though, where Matt goes to, Will Hunting, goes to this job interview, and then he's telling them this, like, absurd grand story of why he shouldn't come and work for them. Right. And, like, he starts the story, and then the film cuts to him retelling it to Sean. And he goes for a solid 3 or 4 minutes with this story, and it is very involving. It's very engaging, at least, because, you know, how Will Hunting talks, how he delivers these monologues is kind of enjoyably, like, easy to just sit there and eat up. He's a good storyteller, just like Sean is. Sean is a great storyteller.
It's pretty good accent work too. But if I recall correctly, Ben and Matt are from this area.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's doing the opposite of accent work, if anything. But for Robin Williams, I guess I don't know where he's from either. You know, I'm gonna look up, because for somebody that I actually care for so much,
right?
I feel like I should know.
I love that scene though, because once Matt Damon finishes that monologue, and once 4 or 5 minutes has gone by, it cuts to Robin Williams, and he just asks a completely non-related question, not connected to the story at all. And it's such a good comedic moment, because it just cuts back to Will, and Will's like, "What? Did you even hear my story? Like, what the fuck is that?" It's such a good moment.
So Robin Williams was born in Chicago. And I guess I had the date right in front of me. His birthday was July 21st, 51.
Ooh, what a legend.
What a legend. We miss you.
Yeah, I guess I don't really have much else to say about Good Will Hunting, except that, you know, I wholeheartedly recommend it. I love this movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I love the development of a character, because literally within 30 minutes at the beginning, I think many audience members hate Will Hunting. He's an asshole at the beginning.
He is a bit of an ass. Yeah.
You don't know anything about him. You don't know his past. You just see him literally just punching people just for the fun of punching people and doing some really terrible things. But as you explore the character through therapy and through Sean's own personal issues that Will himself is helping Sean with, I don't know, you grow to love this character. At least I do. And it's a very moving film with a lot of good messages. So, I mean, I just highly recommend it. It's a 3.5-star film.
Fucks. Yeah. Good movie. One of my favorite actors of all time, Robin Williams. He kills it. This is probably one of his best roles, as I think you said earlier. He doesn't necessarily get like you said, he has those opportunities where he gets to tell stories, and I do crack up laughing from them. But that quick, punchy stuff is not necessarily in this movie.
No,
because it would be inappropriate.
Except for my wife farted.
Yeah,
she used to fart herself awake. No shit, she farted herself awake. You telling me right now that your wife farted? And she farted so loud that she would fart herself awake? That's what I'm saying. Yeah, she farted. She just farted so loud, and she would roll over and she'd wake up and be like, "What was that?" It's like, "I'm sorry, honey, I farted." You took credit for it?
Mozzarella.
I love that scene because that scene feels like it might not have been improv, but that whole scene seemed like it was improvised, and it just seemed like Matt Damon was just like so shocked that Robin Williams would just like come in. It's like, all right, give us your best material. Okay, I'll give you my best material. My wife farted, and it's like, well, I wasn't expecting that. It just seemed like it was such a good moment.
Yeah. So that does remind me of like the first tactic that Robin uses, Sean, is to just stay silent and let Will speak first. And it took like 3 or 4 sessions or something like that.
I enjoyed that too.
And I believe that he even told Lambo at one point, it's actually impressive.
He's just like, all he does is sit in there and just watch the clock tick away.
Yeah, it's like
a whole hour.
Like, I don't get it. Yeah, a whole hour.
It's beautiful. Yeah, I highly enjoy it. I'm thinking we might have a split on who we elect.
I don't know. Okay, so what is the question? If the question is, which movie did you like better? I go a certain way. For these 2 questions, I go a different way. Which is a better cinematic movie? And which is the better performance by our actor in focus?
Right.
If it's those 2, then I go with Good Will Hunting. If I go with my favorite, it's purely for nostalgic purposes, Mrs. Doubtfire.
And that's fair. And I'm okay, honestly, with leaving the final question vague. I think all 3 are answered by one film for me, and that's Good Will Hunting. I think it was more of like a father thing, because it's like, I know my dad loved this movie, and I remember watching it a lot with him, and with my mom too. She was there, of course. But it was an easy bonding thing, so I feel like the nostalgia for me is more connected with Good Will Hunting, even though we did watch Mrs. Doubtfire a lot as well.
A lot.
Yeah.
I kind of wish that there was maybe a 3rd movie tacked onto this, but I don't know. I like Robin Williams a lot.
Yeah, Good Morning Vietnam.
Yeah, I think that would have been a good add to it.
Or... because
I've actually never seen that all the way through. I've only ever seen scenes. So
or we just go the full non-comedy route, and it's What Dreams May Come.
Really not one of his best. It's a good movie.
No, I kind of wish...
it's a weird-ass movie.
Wasn't there one with Nathan Lane? Is that Birdcage?
Oh, yeah, that would have been a good one.
I would have enjoyed that.
He's pretty good in that. That is a really good movie, but I don't feel like he really kind of shines like he does in Good Will Hunting.
You know what? Just fuck it. We'll just do a whole Robin Williams playlist. Come to you.
Yes, that would be
good. Patrons and just regular listeners out there, you can just go on and recommend Robin Williams playlist if we ever bring up a playlist option again. I'm sure we will.
Yeah. Right now we are taking a poll of our next playlist after we do Matrix. So if you go down to patreon.com/greenfaceless, you do not need to be a patron to vote on what playlist we might do.
It's perfectly free. I think you just have to sign up for Patreon, right? You don't have to submit.
You might have to get an account, but you don't have to pay anybody money unless you want to.
Yeah, you just put in your email on there, and then I think you even have an option to say, "Don't ever fucking email me." So all it's needed. And we'd
All up
appreciate
to
it.
you.
We
Yeah,
like
we would
hearing everybody
really
else's
appreciate it.
voices and opinions, so we want to
Yeah,
want you guys to give us the options.
And, I'm going to go ahead and say, if you aren't comfortable with giving your email and you have a Facebook or, if you have a Facebook account, you can go to our Facebook page, just search Green and Faceless on the Couch. Then you can let us know in the comments there. How about that?
Agreed. Keeping it simple for all the voters out there.
Yeah. Keeping it simple by making it complex. Hell
yeah. That's what we do.
Green Faces on the Couch, here to confuse you.
And I'm sure we'll be confusing you like crazy next Monday with the finale of our Matrix playlist.
Yes.
For now, our finale. I'm sure they can come out with a fifth one further down the line.
We didn't do Animatrix. One day we could do Animatrix.
Yeah, that's right. We did not do Animatrix, did we? We could do Animatrix someday.
If and if you guys are taking too long to let us know what you want to do for the next playlist, we'll just have to tag on Animatrix.
We'll probably have to do Animatrix then. Yeah, shit.
Yeah,
that's right.
We'd have to.
I do own it.
You do own it? It's
it's
on the same place we watched all the other movies.
Oh, I watched all the other ones on my DVD. I have the old, like an old copy of the DVD. So it's hilarious. They're all bundled together. It's nice. Well, until Monday, everybody. I think that's the show.
I think
and
so
too.
And
I am the Green Traveler from Gorsh.
And I am the Faceless Leon. Safe travels and good night. Green and Faceless on the Couch is a proud production of Fiction Works 19. If you like the show, please show your support by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. Like, follow, subscribe, wherever you might listen. We also now have a Patreon account. If you feel so inclined to support us in a financial manner, please become a patron by visiting patreon.com/greenandfaceless. You can also find more information about us on our Facebook account or on the Fiction Works 19 Instagram account. Thank you so much for listening.